Brother Lay, would you do the invitation, please?
Lord, we appreciate the time to gather up today to do the people's business, and we want to do it in a fashion that you would want us to do it. Coming together, our nation is kind of coming under hard times right now, and we need your help, we need your prayers. We need you to give us some guidance. Maybe we can all kind of come together and work toward a good finish for this year end. And maybe you can see us through these elections and get this behind us so that we can gather up and go forward. We appreciate it. Thank you. Amen.
Yes,
Amen. Shelley, roll call, please.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Juliet Coates.
Here.
Jody Fishinghot.
Here.
Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
China Glory Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener. Dick Lay.
Here.
David Thornton. David Walkingstick.
Here.
Kara Cowan Watts. Ani. John Masters.
Ooh.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Like the approval of the August 22nd regular session meeting.
Make a motion to be approved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on down to the reports, management, Angela Drew.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Good afternoon.
As always, you've got my report in your packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
What? Yes, sir.
Next month, could you update us on, or just kind of educate us on gathering rights within the Cherokee Nation and our current burn policies?
Yes, ma'am.
Not whether or not we have a burn ban, but how do we manage our areas of, like, where it used to be traditionally we would burn at certain times of years of Cherokee versus what we do now under BIA regs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Hoskins?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you check on, I think there was some dirt to be hauled to the property where the South Coffeyville Community Building is. And
Okay.
I got some frequent emails from that group about that, and I think where it stands is they still need the dirt, but...
So they're waiting on it?
I think so.
Okay, let me check with Pat.
Okay.
It may be one of those groups, just haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any more questions for Angela? Ms. Jody?
Angela, I got one. I had mentioned it, community services, and I don't know if they've got taken care of yet. Out at Fairfield, at that Fairfield property we bought from the Guthries, people have started using that road to dump and to throw beer cans and mattresses and trash. Could you check on that?
I did, and I'm trying to remember, I know that I asked Pat to send someone out to monitor if there was illegal dumping going on, and of course, roadside beer cans is something that we deal with everywhere, but they did not report back to me that we had...
There's some mattresses and stuff out there. The reason I know is my sister and my brother-in-law go run on it every morning. It's a running road,
Alright.
and they're the ones that told me about it.
Okay, let me double check with them, and then I'll give you a report, because I did ask them to go out and survey it to see what was going on.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Langland?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Angel, where are we at on mowing the grass at the Collinsville building on Broadway?
I don't know. I'll have to... Is there not a community group that is taking care of that one?
Oh, no, they take care of the 40 acres.
So-
This is in town at the career service building or...
Okay, are they renting that?
No, we
property?
own it.
We own it. It's not one that facilities management normally takes care of, because if it's not in the space cost pool, and I know that that one's not, so we'll take care of it. I'll find out who
It's
should be
just
doing it.
continues to get, I mean, the people that visit it, they're having to walk through the
Yeah.
weeds now to get to it.
And it's career services that's in
I
it.
assume that's who's in there, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, I'll
And
just...
a nice group.
Okay. we'll take care of it.
And then also where we at on the federal building in Claremore, on maintaining that?
We mow that one every 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And working with Linda Donaldson right now, because we had put some numbers together of what it cost us last year to maintain that property, and of course cost of fuel's gone up. We had actually bid that out to see what it came back in at, and Linda, do you remember? Oh, you hear from Linda? Do you remember what those numbers came back in at? It was up in the thousand, like $9,000 is what they wanted to maintain that property for a year. It was an outrageous amount, and of course we didn't let it because that was way too much money. But I'm working with Linda on getting a letter drafted. I think the last time I asked her about it was one day last week, to send that to the BIA and then CC our state representatives and letting them know that we're maintaining the property and it still hasn't been turned over to us yet, and we need to bill them for the expenses that we're investing in that property. So we mow it every 2 weeks is the short answer, and then we're trying to get them to get off high center on getting it turned over to us. So.
Okay, thank you, Angie.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council Lady Glory?
Yes, Angie, on the Kirk property out on the bypass.
Yes, ma'am.
I've had 2 or 3 of the farmers complain to me that they think the units are being exceeded
Okay.
on what the lease agreement was.
Okay.
And I actually went by there, but I'm not real good at counting moving horses, so I thought maybe I better pass that along to you and ask you to check into.
We had that reported before, and I had Butch Garner. He went out and checked on the approved animal units, and at that time they were within compliance, but we'll check it again.
Well, I did notice they've kind of split into several pastures now, so it's real hard to.
Right.
It might be kind of deceiving, I guess, to figure
Yeah.
out.
Because what we do is, of course, horses are much harder on the land than cows, and so we do allow them to do rotational. They can set up cross fencing and do rotational grazing, but I'll have Butch check on those numbers.
They've really eaten it down. I did notice that.
Okay. I'll have it. Dave, what he does, just so you know, all of the lease units get inspected quarterly. So within a 3-month period, all of the units that we have go through a inspection.
Do they know when we're coming, or is it a
No.
surprise inspection?
I'm assuming that it doesn't happen, at the same time but we don't notify them. So.
If you check into that and let me know, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Councilman Bill Jones?
Yeah, it appears that maybe we bought 190 acres.
Yes, we did.
And generally they let the council people know maybe time and day. I wasn't aware of it. What did we pay for this 190 acres?
$910,000, and that was the appraised value.
$1 million.
$910,000.
What kind of dollars did we use?
It adjoins the Ross School. We would have used our riverbed dollars.
But it won't go into trust and automatically there.
No.
I thought we were using riverbed dollars for land that would immediately go into trust.
If we choose to buy land in the corridor, that can make land go into what is called the fast track process, but we've bought numerous acres that are outside of that corridor.
Did Tiny know that you were bidding on this?
I can clarify that if I may.
Mr. Chairman?
On the,
Come up, please.
I didn't know if I didn't know whether to speak up or not. On the $910,000 that we paid for the 191 acres, was it? That was funds from
Come on up, please.
Ma'am, you'll need to
Oh,
come up to the microphone.
You're correct. I apologize. I gave inappropriate information. Thank you,
I didn't know
Linda,
if you
for
knew or not,
clarifying.
but-
I forgot.
It's CNE funds. We didn't use any of our money with CNE.
She's right, CNE purchased it.
C&E purchased it.
CNE.
They're gonna build a casino there?
I would suppose they're not. It's for cultural tourism, and cultural tourism falls under CNE. It adjoins the Ross Cemetery and the Ross School. It has the Rose Cottage, which was John Ross's home, and it has the
I've been over the site before.
yes.
I mean, you can dig down and find a footing, but that's about it. Yeah.
And it has the old slave cemetery on it as well. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Sorry for the inappropriate information.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Lady Watts?
I'm fine, thank you.
And Councilor Wilkerson? Any more questions, Angela? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Moving on down to real estate services, Linda Donaldson.
Linda's on,
Take Linda there.
she's on, her brother-in-law passed away, had a funeral today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I hope you don't have too many questions. The report I just laid across the desk, it was too late to get in the package. I hope you've had a chance to look at it. On the Claremore building, I might add just a little bit more. I followed up with Linda's request to me to get a little bit more information on it. You know, we've been working on this thing for what, 10 years? Just like the end of day schools, the Bureau doesn't get in a big hurry to transfer property. They just say it's yours and just carry on. But I did talk to Annette Jenkins today. I called her last week and she was out, but I did talk to her earlier this morning. And she was supposed to get with Alan Woodcock of the Solicitor's Office to give us an opinion on what they want to do is try to give it to us in trust. It's been rocking on for so long, we just told them we'll take it in fee. We don't care how it comes, let's just get it off high center. So he has promised Annette to have some type of opinion together within the next 2 weeks. So if we can hold off for at least that long, we might have something we can work with.
Councilor Lady Watts?
Thank you. I'd ask that Pat Ragsdale take on the responsibility of trying to get that through, if possible. I don't know, we gotta change up something, because we're continuing to do the same thing with the same people and it hasn't changed. I'm not saying it being, maybe he has people that knows people we don't know or something. We haven't even received a response to the letter from the elected officials. Elaine and I both signed the letter asking for a response on the title, and we have not yet
Elected officials
received.
being who? It's a bureau thing, I didn't know it.
The two of us.
To who?
To the bureau, is Linda designated
Okay.
to the person that has been non-responsive in getting it done.
Okay. All right. I don't know how, it's bureaucracy, and I've been here for 20 years, and I know that we've been trying to get the Indian Day Schools transferred to us ever since I first came here. Like I said, this Claremore project, it's got to be at least 10 years old. We request, and I don't know what the hang-up is, but it's rests with the Bureau. What they're wanting right now is basically an opinion from the Solicitor's Office, who is the attorneys for the Bureau, as to how they can transfer this property. That's the last that I heard on it.
If Pat
I can tell
Ragsdale could take it up for us, I'd appreciate it.
I think he is working on it.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Any more questions? Thank you, ma'am. Moving on down to environmental programs, Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon, sir, ladies and gentlemen. I think you have our report. I just want to add that as of today, we know, or we have an understanding at least, it won't be 10 years, but our CNG station out here at Outpost 1 will be ready by the end of the month. We're having a grand opening, let me check my calendar, but I believe it's the 27th on a Tuesday. Yes, sir, the 27th, and it'll be, I know that Diane Kelly's great at handling things like that, so I asked her, and she said she would handle all the promotional things and getting out. Diana Turtle, she's working with her to get out invitations to the council and the other folks that have any kind of play in that. I know our Northeastern Oklahoma Utilities is going to be invited to that, because we went and spoke at theirs over on the west side of the bypass. So we're going to have a few people over there, and I think it'll be really a nice thing. I don't know if I told you at last committee meeting, our office bought a used pickup truck that is a dual fuel vehicle, so it'll run on gasoline or compressed natural gas. And I hope that we begin through attrition or through various changes in leases that we either acquire some CNG or dual fuel vehicles, or that we start leasing the same. But I think it'll be a good deal.
What time is that?
I don't have a time on it yet, sir, but we'll get that as soon as possible.
Councilman Hoskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apart from the Honda makes for just retail sale of CNG car, are they still for like GSA fleets, big buyers, things like that? Are they still making some of the?
There are a few. Ford made a lot of them about 12, 14 years ago. Chevy made a few pickups and cars, and that's why we got a vehicle that was an old fleet, a used, not old, it's a 90 or 2004, and they made them through 90, and I'm guessing about, the gentleman told me about it, through 94 through 2008, something to that effect, because there were some CNG stations around. They kind of went down, and now there's a big push to start that again, which I'm hoping will really last this time. It just seems like a great fit for us. Not only is the gas equivalent much cheaper, I know I saw it at 79 cents an equivalent per gallon, but here in town it was a little over $1. But even at that, it's really good. And even if we didn't save any money on it, the emissions are just almost nothing. So it's really a good thing. I hope we can start moving in that direction.
Yeah, and I heard you last time say, and I've heard before, how expensive it is to convert an existing
It is,
vehicle.
yes,
I
sir.
wish there was a way we could somehow use our resources to convert.
Well, I'm just not so sure that we have to, and I'm speculating here, that we have to have an EPA certified vehicle. I don't know if that's the case. If we don't, I've heard that people can get them much cheaper than that. But pickup trucks, I've just gotten estimates on about $13,000 to $15,000. Well, that's not very practical for a used vehicle to convert that over. Now, new vehicles, if you can get them through certain places, they're $3,000 to $5,000 more than a regular vehicle. That's not too bad if you expense that over the life of the vehicle.
So there's still manufacturing apart from the Honda? There's
Yes,
still
sir.
manufacturing?
There are a few. Yes, sir.
CNGs. Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Any more questions for Tom? Next time.
I understood Ford was manufacturing the F-150.
I believe that's true. Yes, ma'am.
And then on the average, it was about $4,000 more to buy a Ford F-150 that was dual, that could use gas or it could use this fuel.
I think between 3,000 and 5,000. Yes, ma'am.
And that it's a new truck, right? A
Yes,
new
ma'am.
pickup. And it really would behoove this body, if we're going to go into this business, to pass or consider passing a resolution that when they buy these vehicles, that they buy one that will take this fuel. I mean, at 79 cents, I think there was something at 79 cents on the bypass when they opened up their little fuel mart. And at the time, that made it $3 cheaper a gallon to buy that versus buying regular gas plus the improved emission standards. Why would we not want to eventually change over our fleet as we change out vehicles, because we're buying on the average a vehicle each and every month. If you watch the bid outs, there's a vehicle on there or several vehicles on there between us and C&E every month.
Right.
So it would not take long to change out our whole fleet where it could run on gas or run on this fuel. And it, you know, I fill up every week. So at $3, that $4,000 is paid for. It pays for itself in a year. Basically, in a year, you will save enough money to justify buying that type of motor versus the traditional type.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know if it was something that would be legislation that would work for the nation. I know we're developing an energy policy that would encompass, I mean, that covers the government and all the business entities as well. So that might be something that we push into that policy. I don't know how well policy and legislation, you know, I just don't know. I'm not a legislator, but I assume a policy like that would cover something like that just as well. But
well, we have a chance to be the first ones to do it, and if we don't do something, then we've spent several $1 million worth of taxpayers' money. That maybe the garbage truck at Tahlequah is the only truck, and this truck that we bought, this 2004, is the only ones that's going to be fueling at what we've built and what the city's built. It just makes sense, maybe not to retrofit, because I understand that is very expensive.
well,
But
I
if
think
we
that
buy
has
new
to be.
vehicles, we need to be thinking about it.
I think those have to be costed, you know, cost out through cost accounting, but it's like the recycling center that we're looking at. We have plans in that to have a forklift that has CNG capability. There are other things, you know, backhoes, things like that that may, depending on where they're used and the purposes of them, we might look at something like that. And I think that would just be a great thing for the nation. And again, even if our net savings was zero, the emissions on these are nothing.
But I don't think our net will be zero.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I think after we keep a vehicle on average 5 to 7 years. If we pay for it in the first year, the extra money, then for
That's just gravy.
years 2 through 7, we're just saving that much money.
Yes, ma'am. And the power and the working of the vehicle is exactly the same.
I've been told that of course you're gonna have to convince a lot of people, but I've been told that they're equal, that you can't tell the difference.
Oh, you can.
Of course, you talk to an old farmer out here and he'll tell you that's just not possible. You gotta have that big old diesel, but that's not. I think that we're coming to a point where we're sophisticated enough that the power is probably typically the same for most activities.
Well, I think with engineering, we can do things that we couldn't do 25, 30 years ago. Yes, ma'am.
What, if we were gonna build these, which we have built them, then I don't think people are just gonna voluntarily say, I wanna spend $4,000 more out of my department budget. So at some point, we will have to step in if we're going to make this a viable option. Because I just can't see your department head saying, oh yeah, I'll take a less car every couple of years because I've bought a more expensive car. So we're going to have to get them to do what needs to be done for our environment and for the use of what we've put in, because they were very expensive to get to this point.
Well, I know we've been in discussions with the folks that acquire the GSAs and that assist departments with the leases and other things, and I know they're on board with them. Especially, like you say, the dual fuel, because there are some programs that drive 150, 200 miles away from here, and some of those, the CNG may not be able to get it as readily. But certainly most of the vehicle, our fleet, for the most part, leaves from here, comes back to here. So yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilman Lake.
Thank you. Yeah, I wonder, along the lines of what Don was talking about, could somebody do kind of a cost breakdown study for us because I saw a brand new Ford pickup the other day, an F-150, saw the tank and knew what it was, because when I was a younger man, we used to run a lot of propane pickups. And it's interesting to me because back then propane was 10 cents a gallon. Of course, it's almost as much as gasoline now. But it's interesting to me because the man I talked to who owned the pickup said he paid about $4,000 more. And he said when he runs out of CNG, it automatically goes to gas.
Yes, sir, that's what ours does.
He's not stopped that on the highways. So the fact that you and I know some of our people are going to go to Tulsa or Oak City or whatever and back, they're going to run out of CNG because it's a smaller tank. But they're going to be able to make it home and refill up both tanks the next morning.
Yes, sir.
If we're buying how many a month?
About one.
About one, so about 12 a year.
And I imagine that fluctuates.
I don't know that we could get a fleet rate on that, but we might. I don't know. But it's going to, I don't know what cars come with it, the little Honda cars and the Ford F-150 pickups. If those are the only two, you know, the F-150 you can get in the four-door pickup, and that's just like a car.
Yes, sir.
It's something to look at. Maybe if somebody could give us a cost breakdown to see how long it takes to pay out.
Well, sir, we don't, our group doesn't have a lot of accountants in it. We're more scientists and what, but I can probably get someone to put something, you know, a rudimentary cost analysis together for next month.
That'll work. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Tom? Thanks, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Moving on down to old business, I see none. New business, I see none. Are there any announcements? I have an announcement. We got an ESA meeting at Tom Elkins' environmental office at 2:30 on Wednesday the 14th. That'll be this coming Wednesday. And that's about the landfill down in Stillwell. If anybody's interested in coming, you're welcome to come. We'll have the ESA people here. Yes, Tom.
Would you like me to explain a little bit about their technology?
Yes.
They're proposing, I'm sure you've all heard of plasma technology, where you take a plasma torch and cut steel, and you can cut it just like you can write with. Well, they propose to create a plasma field that is 3.5, 4 foot cylinder by 7 to 8 foot, and have a continuous field and a continuous input of solid waste. And this destroys it. That temperature, that field is hotter than the surface of the sun. So you're not doing a combustion so much as you're destroying all the organics in there. So the pollution is just next to nothing. If anything, you can recover, supposedly, recover metals that are put through there. You can use tires as fuel, because again, you're destroying those organics. I mean, there are some stipulations, like they can only be 40% of the input. They have to be ground up to a certain extent. But we know, I think everybody understands the trouble that we've had with tires in the past, and the problems that they have at landfills. If something's not done with them and they're put in landfills, they float to the top and create problems. And that's just one of the problems. But if this technology works, it might be something really good for the landfill. Again, I don't know if it does. I don't know if there's any of these other sites they say that there's one out in California, and that if they come and do this presentation, they would like us to come look at it. If it works, I'm happy to go look at it. I'm happy to see anything that will help us. I mean, if it fixes the gas issues that we have there, if it fixes, saves up some money, employs some Cherokee people, hallelujah, I'm all for that. But again, we just do the regulatory part. The only thing we're going to do is say, well, yeah, that would work as far as our regulations are, or no, it wouldn't. But we have a board, Cherokee Nation Waste Management Board, that makes the decisions on those kinds of things. I don't have any input into that, but just from what they're saying, it seems like if it can be done, it seems like a good technology.
And also take care of our medical waste.
We could, they propose we could take medical waste in there because it will certainly destroy any pathogens.
Would this be just for the new stuff, or would we actually mine?
They say we could mine the trash that's there, so we could continually take trash. We can, from that plasma field, create enough heat to boil water and create electricity, put it into the grid. We could, again, take more solid waste as we're taking it. We could mine the solid waste that's been buried. And so we get rid of the trash we've got in there, we get rid of the trash we're taking in, and we make money doing it. If that works, that seems like a win-win. I'm very skeptical of things, but, you know, if things work, I'm happy to say hallelujah.
You have a question?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'd want a performance guarantee on that piece of machinery.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure they'll work it over really well.
Anyway, we're having a meeting at 2:30 Wednesday.
We are over on Allen Road. I don't know if you're familiar with Tahlequah, but just east of Dano's convenience store, just east of that car wash that's over there. So there on the bypass, Allen Road comes out to a Phillips 66 that looks like a barn just kind of north of town. If you go back west, you come to our office. We're 6-8 blocks down there on the south side of the road. We got 2 buildings right there, and we will be in the farther east building.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir.
Any more announcements? Everybody got any announcements?
Curtis, I did have one
Yes.
thing I think I missed on, it's either Angie's report or Miss Tyler's report. Will you all follow up with us on what the planned use by CNE is of the 190 acres of the Hoffman place that they bought?
Yes, I know some of the conversation that has been had is the front half, and I don't know how many of those acres would be used by cultural tourism to expand the cultural tourism opportunities there regarding the Rose Cottage home. But one of the things that was discussed, of course, they have, you know, to look at their return on their investment, and until they determine how they're going to develop the entire thing, I do know that there was some opportunities to lease that out for grazing or something of that nature until they determined what the larger plan was going to be.
Now, they knew they didn't get the house in 20 acres,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, I think there's, yes.
And isn't
Correct.
that kinda in the middle of the property or pretty close to the?
I believe it sets, yes, but there is, I believe the county road, it's in the middle, but we have access to the property all the way around where the house sits. So it's not smack dab out in the middle where they're gonna have to be driving across us to get to it.
Okay. And you'll just keep us in the loop on that?
Yes, and I apologize that didn't get out to the Cherokee County council members, because what we have discussed in the past is we don't want to release information before we close on something, and of course that went to a sheriff's sale, but as soon as we have closed, then that information does need to get out. So I'm gonna get with Pat and Linda to see who's taking that role on and make sure that we get that information to you guys just as soon as we've acquired something. So I apologize that didn't get out sooner.
Anyway, thank you. Okay, our next meeting will be held in Bull Hollow on October 10th at 10 o'clock. Bull Hollow, where?
Our calendar has 11, and I think we discussed last month, they were 11 or 13.
Yes, Sarah?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no objections, could we please make that at 11 o'clock, and we'll, for the resources meeting, and we'll eat at noon. That'll give us an hour to eat and an hour to return for the first meeting at 2 o'clock back here. I know everybody has a lot of business on their plate for their constituents, and Monday mornings are difficult, I know, at least over in Rogers County and Tulsa, so give you a chance to get more work done before we get here.
So we'll start our meeting at 11 o'clock
If you, that would be great.
and eat at 12 and be back here at 1.
Two.
2?
Mr. Chairman, if there is any of the new council that wants to take a tour of the land up in, Delaware County, it would be preferable that we do it before the meeting, that way they've got plenty of time to get back. So if there is anyone, if you could send me an email at adrews@cherokee.org letting me know if you want to go on that tour so we can plan on doing that. And probably if we started that by, I'd say 9, we could get a nice tour in for you. So just let me know if that's something you choose to do, please.
Thank you, Angela. And moving on down, adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Adjourn.